Hey everyone, it's Bradley. Welcome back to my channel, Portland Gentlemen. It's great to have you with me here today. Today's video is all about BrewTools' new patent-pending CleaneCore valve. What is CleaneCore? Well, we are going to explain that and look into that, and I'm going to compare it to the old valves, go over a couple things that you need to know about it. I wouldn't say things I don't like, but little issues that are just unavoidable with CleaneCore, and some issues with the old valves, and some ways to also make your old valves perform even better. But first, I have to be honest up front, BrewTools did send me 5 or 6 of these CleaneCore valves for testing. That's what I've been doing with them for the past several months, testing them out, letting them know what I think, keeping meticulous notes to make a video just like this one. As always, everybody, please like, comment, and subscribe, share the video. It really helps my little channel get seen in more places. So again, guys, if you're a fan of me, you want to help out, that's all you got to do. So aesthetically, we're going to jump into that first. Aesthetically, how does CleaneCore look? What does it look like? How does it function? So the aesthetics of CleaneCore, as is our such, obviously it's made out of plastic. It looks good in my system. Again, I'm using 5 of them currently, all for various types of testing, but it looks and performs quite well. It definitely is a departure from that stainless steel that we're all used to, but to me, I kind of like its boxy design. It is minimalist in its own kind of way, and it definitely gets the job done. BrewTools could, of course, build a stainless steel clamshell, but that would be pretty expensive, I think. Granted, if they had some, I wouldn't mind having 4 or 5 of them. But then again, honestly, I think it would be a waste, and it does defeat kind of the point. Research it, mash it, boil it, ferment it, drink it, analyze it, share it. Home brewing is good. All right, here is a look at CleaneCore up close and personal. The body is a polyketone design. It's a clamshell. It also features an integrated tri-clamp gasket. It's all a part of the internal design of CleaneCore. We're going to check that out right now. The first step to disassemble is to back out the 2 set screws that hold on the handle, and it just pops right off. Then you want to go ahead and take out the 4 Allen head screws or bolts that hold the 2 halves of the clamshell together. They shouldn't be that tight, as these are pressed into plastic with some brass thread inserts, but that comes right off, and then now we can see the inside of the CleaneCore valve body. This is kind of what makes it special. And that pulls off the other side of the clamshell. It's in there, held affixed tightly, but it comes out easily. There is that kind of, we'll call it the valve stem. Those O-rings are to guide and center it within the body. This cap reveals the ball, and this is going to give you a kind of a closer look at the stainless steel ball inside, that little pin that helps to locate everything. And here is the cap itself that covers the back of, we're calling it the valve body. It's got a pretty fine tolerance on it. It does wipe that stainless steel nicely. It's going to be really hard, honestly, for any sort of dirt or grit to pass in there. The valve stem, we're going to keep calling it that, just comes right out. That is just there to control that ball. This is the key, in my opinion, to disassembly. You want to soak the body itself in warm water. There are at least one other video on the internet showing really the wrong way to do this. You guys are watching my channel because I bring you the important tips, the how-to, the best way to get it done, and soaking it is absolutely critical. Now, for some reason off camera here, I put the front half of that valve body where the stem is back onto the silicone itself, so that clamshell's on there, and I'm using that to locate everything. I'm just using an Allen key, one that'll fit through that hole, and pushing down with it warm directly, and that ball pops right out. This is the most painless way to do it. You're not going to damage your valve. Here we are disassembled. I left the screws in there because we've all seen those stainless steel bolts before, not a big deal. This is kind of what the ball itself looks like inside of there. Get an idea for the port size and diameter. I want to compare and contrast the old 3-way valve. These valves aren't bad, but they're not great by any means. You can see they're using bits of nylon inside to kind of help everything seal up. You can see the bits of the seals that hold on the 2 ends. You can see a little bit of grit in there. My valves stay clean because of a special technique I've been using for years. to make sure they don't accumulate a bunch of crud. At the end of the video, I will share that once again. There is the main ball. This is one of the big differences. If you look at the ball itself, it actually has 2 ports that are larger than CleaneCore's, and it has 1 port that is smaller. I'm testing with my finger, very scientific, but it's quite obvious there is a flow advantage in this old valve in a certain direction. I do think it is not a significant advantage per my testing, but I just want to throw that out there. Reassembly, you guessed it. Soak this guy in hot water one more time to get everything nice and pliable. That way you do not damage any of those delicate seals inside. And you notice how this ball actually stays put in this little cap. We're going to use that to our advantage. It's actually held in there with a friction fit, and it's actually a pretty good fit, just trying to demonstrate that. So place it back in the clamshell. Then you want to take the ball and line it up. And it's easier to line it up if you are not trying to film yourself and block the light and you're a giant ogre of a man like maybe I may be, but just take it on there with that cap and use that to push it in. It does require some force. So you hear a pop and it goes right in just like that. Here we're a little closer so you can see it around my sausage fingers. It pops right into place and you're good to go. That valve is put back together. Now it's as simple as dropping on that kind of valve stem, the control knob, and you can use that to kind of locate the ball. As long as it's close, it'll slot right into place, relocate the ball, everything is centered up. Place on what I'm calling the front of the clamshell because it doesn't have any screws or writing, but maybe that's the back. I don't know that matters. And then place on, we're calling the back here with those stainless steel bolts. And it's really critical when you put these on, torque them in a crisscross fashion so you torque it down evenly, make sure the clamshell goes together straight at all times, and do not over tighten. Snug, they do not have to be tight. So once it's all tightened up, that valve is put back together and ready to go back in service. And obviously you want to put the handle on and tighten it up. Not a big deal at all. That you can get significantly tighter. All right, so that's how you take it apart the right way. I'm sorry, just I got to make sure I get the best information to the community. I wouldn't want you guys to damage your valves. Now there is one thing I touched on, again, that port size on the ball. So the older valve, which I have right here, let me just grab it real quick. This guy in this configuration, that is the highest flow when you're passing this way through the back. That uses the larger ports. CleaneCore itself, it doesn't matter. All ports are going to flow the same. Now, having said that, the limitation honestly in the system in my testing is the pump's throughput as well as the size of the actual 90s, the elbows, the inside diameter of the tubing itself you're using. So in my testing, although this valve does have a flow advantage, once you put it in the system, this valve is evenly matched and it is superior because all 3 ports are able to flow at the same rate, whereas this one, that definitely wasn't the case. There are a few other kind of, just overall operation or feeling differences. Often when I've brewed with this valve, I've used these for, again, almost 4.5, 5 years now, it feels like. And you can feel when those little, kind of the nylon bits in there engage. And I can just tell by feel where that valve is throughout its range. And I've gotten really used to it. CleaneCore does not have that. You can't feel, they're not really detents, but you can't feel those surfaces made up as they seal. CleaneCore itself is just a super linear and smooth motion. Nothing wrong with it, but it is something, if you're one that brewed, kind of by feel like I've been known to do over the years, that is something to keep in mind, that you will have to retrain yourself and look more at position of the handle to get a really good idea of what that ball is doing internally. As far as CleaneCore goes itself, they are going to do some upgrades. This is kind of the prototype kind of units that they've sent out. There is a kind of a trial going on where I believe you can buy these as a production prototype for testing. BrewTools will likely be selling later upgraded interior that I'm getting at right now. They are going to make the internal tolerances a little bit tighter so that there's more of a seal on the actual ball itself. I haven't noticed any issue in mine leaking or any issue holding pressure. Again, I'll have some B-roll from a recent brew day where I did the now infamous portly CO2 push or compressed air push to get all the wart out of your lines. I've been doing this for years and it works a treat. These valves hold that pressure just fine. no issue there. And that's honestly the most pressure intense thing that a CleaneCore valve is going to have to do in my world. But again, there is an upgraded silicone mold being designed and developed for the inside of these that will be available. One of the other downsides is polyketone itself over time can wear from excessive heat. Now, what does that mean? Well, simple. Over time, it may begin to get kind of brittle and less pliable. So that's something to be aware of. I don't see these getting that hot. They do get hot when you're pumping liquid through them, but I really don't know what that duty cycle or what that life's going to be. I don't think it's going to be a big deal. I have a feeling that they will make the outer clamshells available if it's even necessary, but I just want to be honest. It's not something that I really see as a huge concern at this point in time. With the integrated seal, there is kind of a little bit of a space, and I'll throw a little bit up here on screen and also try and show you right now. But there is this point right here. There's a little bit of a gap between that hard clamshell and that itself, and that kind of lends itself to a little bit of it just feels when you have two components hooked together side by side, it's just not quite as positive an engagement. It's not gonna fall apart on you. It's not gonna leak, but that's just the nature of this design process. Again, it's patented. It's the first of its kind. I do find it to be acceptable. It's just something, if you're used to using these, which we all are, these are a very solid tri-clamp to tri-clamp connection. Whereas this guy, there'll be a little bit more flex than you used to just based on that design attribute that I've just gone over. The other thing is currently, there is no way to go valve to valve with a closed piece as they have an integrated gasket. I'm not sure if they overlooked it or not, but so if you want to put two of these together, you are going to have to use a intermediate piece or an interim kind of adapter piece. BrewTools, I have asked desperately for a close coupling, as close as possibly can be made. They've told me it depends on demand. At this point, boys, I'll buy a custom one. I don't care. I hope that they make it. I'm assuming that they will, because they'll pretty much make anything we ask for, it seems like. With their improved performance, the integrated gaskets, which I think are a really, really good idea, less with more is always a good thing. One less part to track and keep up with. And their overall improved flow for all three ports, these are going to be hard to beat. And obviously, how sanitary they are. Now, I've shown you how to clean them, but I don't think they're going to get that dirty. I just don't see that being necessary personally. So I wouldn't focus too much on the cleaning. Again, time's going to tell. They're still new how they perform, but that's just kind of where I've at in my testing and the way I've used them and what I've seen after taking them apart. It's not going to be a concern. And as they're making those tolerances tighter, that is only going to improve. BrewTools could obviously make these in a larger size. The benefits of a three-way valve versus a butterfly valve in home brewing are really extreme in my opinion, because you're able to do, one input to two different outputs, or essentially three ports on one valve. It's a more compact setup. There are less parts. Again, it's using BrewTools 34mm standard. It's not proprietary. They don't own the 34mm standard. They happen to be the only one that widely uses it. So it's kind of their own little toy, but anyone could make these parts. There are significant advantages as far as working on home brewing equipment and why you would want to use a smaller port. Quite frankly, they're just easier to manipulate. If you had a bunch of 1.5-inch ports, they're a lot bigger and it's a lot harder to work in a confined space. All right, so I promised I would share my pro kind of old school portly gentleman tip from way back in the day when I first started, the best way to keep these crud free. So there is a point, and it's kind of hard to show, where you can have the handle almost in this orientation right here. And basically what that is going to do is that lets fluid pass all around the ball, all the passages. So I would just do that on both sides. Find that spot where all ports are open but not wide open, and that will let you push cleaning solution PBW around all the internal components. This will greatly decrease the need to take apart these and clean them. Trust me, I've done it for years. It's not really a concern. And another one I want to put to bed is PBW. I've not seen hardly anywhere personally in my use case in these valves with PBW. Again, CleaneCore is going to be immune from that, I believe. But I want to dispel that. It hasn't gone around much lately in the forums, but it's a thing people talk about, and to me, it is a non-issue. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Remember, home brewing is good, and I'll see you real soon. That I could say about CleaneCore. CleaneCore valves. They're a bigger deal than you think. CleaneCore valves. The patented valve that's clean in the core. Why is I don't know. CleaneCore valves. Because everybody knows a clean core is a happy core. CleaneCore valves, because fucking BrewTools, bro.